The thriving town of Wolmaranstad in Northwest Province is the centre of a vibrant diamond mining and farming area. They also love their motorsport in that part of the world, and the Diamond Route 200 has become a fixture on the Northern Region's Off-Road Championship calendar. Organised by the Verwes Motor Club, the Diamond Route 200 was this year the 6th round of the Northern Region's Championship, with the event enjoying backing from 4x4 Megaworld and KEC Electrical Contractors. Regional championships play an important role in South African off-road racing. The Northern Regions and KwaZulu-Natal Championships provide an entry-level induction to the sport, and an entry of nearly 40 cars for the Diamond Route 200 was an indication that off-road racing in the Northern Regions is on a solid footing. The SA National Off-Road Racing Association provides regional championships with financial support and has in place several initiatives that are aimed at promoting off-road racing at grassroots level. In recent seasons, a growing number of competitors have successfully made the switch from regional competition to national level. Many of the crews have gone on to win championships at national level, cut their racing teeth in the lower leagues, and off-road racing continues to show encouraging growth. Off-road racing is a family-orientated sport, and you are never too young to start. Jaco van Aert currently leads the Special Vehicle Drivers' Championship and started out co-driving with his father Jan. The pair started racing at regional level in a car they built themselves.
Ons na 'n kar wat ek en my pa in 2000 gebou het. Karretjie is al 11 jaar oud. Klas B gery met hom al die jare. So 2 jaar terug die pa besluit nee, hy gaan nou maar linkerkant sit. En ja, hy haal my partykeer uit daaroor. Hy sê ja, nou word dit ook ge-upgrade op die kar, dit word nou met klas P gemaak. Het ons hom nou maar 'n groter masjien ingesit en race is lekker in klas P.
Off-road racing at national and regional level is littered with father and son crews, and Tony Gouveia and son Michael enjoy what is a fun weekend and a bonding exercise.
Well, it's me and my son, we go out to do our racing, and it's good father-son time together. Bonding that we do, because often we travel 3, 4, 5 hours to get to the race, so it's a lot of time spent together, which is magic.
After a hiccup on the Sun City 400 Production Vehicle Championship leaders Jaco Visser and Elgar Rademacher were aiming to bounce back.
Ja goed, die hele jaar goed gegaan ons eerste jaar. Die bakkie doen baie goed. Dus dan sit hy nie so lekker enige gehad nie, maar ek hoop ons gaan vandag 'n beter dag hê.
Jaco Visser and Elgar Rademacher enjoy a 10-point lead in the Production Vehicle Championship, with a tight battle developing behind them. One of the elder statesmen of off-road racing is former national champion Gil Nel. After retiring from national championship with a string of SA titles to his name, Gil is still a top contender in the Special Vehicle Championship.
At the moment, yes, the regional competition is picking up nicely. Now we didn't finish the last race, so now it's nice and tight. So the competition is really tight up front there. Not many points different.
Sitting at the top of the Special Vehicle Championship were Jaco and Jan van Aert, with not much separating the three crews doing the championship chasing. Making their first appearance of the season were Mogray Mabili and co-driver Lapsi Masopi in a venerable Standmaster, which has been rebuilt to Class P specifications.
Came with my car was being redone here in South Africa by Flip, and then he completed the car. So he says to me, okay, before we do the final touches, please come and feel if the car's okay. And we got lucky, there was a race, so he decided to enter.
Teamwork in the cockpit is an essential requirement for success in off-road racing, but Lapsi and Mogray admit to having the odd difference of opinion.
We always fight in action. Because when I tell him to do something, he does something that I don't tell him how to do. So it's quite fun though.
The colourful Mogray also takes a tongue-in-cheek dig at the popular Top Gear program on television.
You should go for it. You know, it doesn't come easy. It's an expensive sport, but if you're patient enough, it does keep you busy, keeps you out of mischief. Because my life in a weekend, I've got my car. I wake up Saturday morning, I go and drive my car until 5 in the evening. I get home, I shower, I eat, I sleep.
The newcomers bring a refreshing approach to the championship with the Sandmaster beautifully turned out. While Mogare and Lepsy prepared for the start, enthusiasts were starting to gather for what promised to be an interesting race. There is no pre-race prologue in the Northern Region Series, with crews starting in order of championship points. First away were Jaco and Jan van Aert in the homemade Janko. Northern Region's events are also run on corrected time, with cars setting off at 1-minute intervals. Next up were Gil Nel and Johan de Klerk in the KEC Zarco, and they were followed off the line by Tony and Michael Gouveia in one of the early spec cars built by Bat Racing. At the start of the first of 2 loops that make up the race, Special Vehicle Championship leaders Jaco and Jan van Aert set about taking control of proceedings in the Janko. They were running at the head of the field and were first in Class P. Chasing after them were Johan Mitchell and Jean Joubert in a Sandmaster, who had Greg Higgins and Mick Oosthuizen hot on their heels in a twin-seater WPP in a Class P battle that was hotting up. Veteran racers Greg Higgins and Mick Oosthuizen were making liberal use of the screamer device impatient crews use to warn slower cars up ahead to kindly get out of the way. Friends of the pair joke rather unkindly that Higgins and Oosthuizen don't get to use the screamer too often, but they had built up a head of steam and were fairly belting along. Higgins and Oosthuizen have been Northern Region stalwarts for many seasons and have this year swapped roles. After co-driving for Oosthuizen in an aging VW Beetle, Higgins is now behind the steering wheel, with Oosthuizen doing the navigating in the portable Shade WPP. An interesting tussle had developed between Johan Mitchell and Jean Joubert and the portable Shade WPP, with dusty conditions making it difficult for Greg Higgins and Mick Oosthuizen to get to grips with the Sandmaster. Behind the Class P battle, Jaco du Plessis and Louis Bester were running at the front of Class D in a Toyota Land Cruiser, with pockets of spectators along the route enjoying some interesting racing. Running at the head of Class E in the 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux were a pair of teenagers starting to make a name for themselves in off-road racing. Venter is the son of reigning national Class D champion Dion Venter, and he and Van Allerman made an immediate impact on the national scene when they finished on the Class E podium on debut at the Toyota 1000 Desert Race in Botswana. The 2 youngsters followed that up with another podium finish on the Sun City 400, and it is obvious they are a young crew to watch in the future, with the Northern Regions Championship providing Venter and Van Allerman with the ideal training ground. Production Vehicle Championship leaders Jaco Visser and Elgar Rademacher had fallen nearly 3 minutes behind Class D leaders Jaco du Plessis and Louis Bester, and were being chased by the bat of early Class B frontrunners Tony and Michael Gouveia. There was trouble up ahead for both crews, with Visser and Rademacher and the Gouveias soon dropping out of the race. The demise of the Gouveia father and son combination handed the Class B lead to Gil Nel and Johan de Klerk, and there was no shortage of experience in the cockpit of the KEC Zarco Light. There is also no shortage of experience where Wolf-Peter Fumfai is concerned. The veteran racer and car builder was now running second in Class B in the home-built WPP. Fumfai was around 3 minutes behind Nel and de Klerk, but was only 9 seconds ahead of Mafeking-based crew Tinus Leroux and Gustav Pinard in a Sandmaster. Behind them, the Ford of Chris and Annelien van Jaarsveld was running 7.5 minutes behind Class E leaders Jason Venter and Vincent van Alleman. Chasing after the Van Jaarsveld husband and wife team were Johan Griffin and Keith Solomon, who had some ground to make up in a Toyota. A challenging route was starting to take its toll on competitors. The Toyota Hilux of Ian Boshoff and Do Hobla was stopped on the side of the road, with Andries Maynard and Louis Fischer also in trouble in another Sandmaster. After getting mobile again, the Sandmaster was to retire a few hundred meters down the road, while the Toyota continued to make strange engine noises.
Dit is 'n elektrische probleem, hou aan trip. Die switches.
There were also problems for Mafeking crew Johan Steyn and Sean van der Berg. Their Zarco had come to a halt on the side of the route, with co-driver van der Berg disappearing into the nether regions of the car in search of the problem.
Kar het bietjie gemoeg geraak vir hierdie ry. Hy het dit uitgesny net hier so.
die draai. Ons kyk nou of die koeldraad nie dalk uitgetrek het.
While Steyn and Van der Berg were temporarily out of action, the Ford Ranger of Andre van der Berg and William Dunnan went past with the pair trying to make up ground in the Class E battle. At the end of the first loop of the race, servicing was optional, with most crews deciding to check in at the Marshall Point and then head off again. At the halfway stage, championship leaders Jaco and Jan van Aert led the special vehicle category, with Jaco du Plessis and Louis Bester out in front of the production vehicle category. Off-road racing at regional level produces its characters, with Gert and Ilse Steyn competing in an aging Toyota bakkie that changed hands in unusual fashion 15 years ago.
Meneer, ek het die bakkie geruil vir 3 beeste, so omtrent seker 15 jaar terug. En ek het hom maar daarvan af gevat en maar op my manier reggemaak en opgebou. In die F-klas, hele paar trofees moet hom al verower. Hy's oud, maar hy's nog nie koud. Hy bring sy kant.
Factory and wealthy privateer teams competing at the sharp end of the AXA Off-Road Championship go racing with multi-million rand budgets. There have been no such luxuries for Gert Steyn.
Al wat ek aan hom gedoen het, ek het hom 2 Delorto carburetors opgesit met 'n sidedraft Delortos, en dan het ek aan sy suspensie voor het ek net 2 coil springs bygesit. Gewone ou skokbrekers, Gabriel skokbrekers, agter gewone Gabriel skokbrekertjies, en dis dit. En hy doen sy ding.
As far as Gert Steyn is concerned, a huge budget is not a prerequisite if you want to go off-road racing and enjoy yourself.
Dit is nie so duur om jou bakkie te verander. As jy, in die hoë klas, in die groot klas sal ek sê ja, maar nie in hierdie tipe klas, F-klas wat ons ry, is dit nie nodig om so baie geld te spandeer om deel te neem.
How far will a man go for ultimate glory? This year, there will be no holding back. There will be no challenge too tough. This year, we will stop at nothing to bring you everything.
Oh, that's gruesome.
All 48 games live and in high definition.
Oh, tremendous. Nothing wrong with that one.
2 dedicated 24-hour rugby channels.
That's near impossible.
All the action behind the scenes. Live streaming on supersport.com.
Sensational stuff.
4 unique magazine shows.
Oh, yes.
Watch every game with DSTV Drifter.
I want to try.
Insights from the game's best rugby brains.
That is sensational.
Riveting commentary options.
Brilliant.
Get ready for the most powerful action you've ever experienced. Get ready for the most intense emotions you've ever felt. Get ready for the most unbelievable moments you've ever seen.
Oh, yes. Unbelievable.
The IRB World Cup 2011. It's game on Supersport.
Release throttle, clutch, select gear, accelerate. Brake, balance, hold the line, first in the corner.
Every race won or lost in milliseconds. This is life in the fast lane. The World Superbike Championships. Supersport. We live for pole position. Broadcast brought to you by Red Square. Ultimate Activation.
For over a decade, the South African flag has been flown overseas by the Hall Speed organization, run by Castrol Toyota team principal Glenn Hall. Hall Speed has built cars for overseas teams competing in the Dakar Rally, and the Germany-based Overdrive team, run by South African Scott Abram, has 2 Toyota Hilux models on order. Overdrive recently conducted a test session in the Magaliesberg.
As quite a few people know, Overdrive, we've been working with Glenn Hall for the past 6 years in Europe. First obviously with the Nissan project on the Dakar, and then now with the Toyota project. And yeah, this week we are testing with some of our customers from South America, and they're out here to test the vehicles. We have 2 cars on order at the moment, and it's part of our build-up to the Dakar and the preparation for the Dakar.
The new Toyota Hilux V8 has already scored 2 victories in South Africa, and Abraham has no doubt the ABSA Off-Road Championship is the ideal testing ground for cars destined to race overseas.
Well, I think obviously the Toyota brand was the world's biggest manufacturer, but at the same time our relationship with Glyn was a logical progression. Obviously the benefits of South Africa, the strong championship, the strong testing ground, the vehicles have proven themselves both here and on the Dakar in the past, if we talk about the Nissans. And I think obviously for me personally it's a nice link to be back to South Africa after so many years in Germany, but it's interesting.
The 2 Toyota Hilux cars on order from Holdspeed will spearhead Overdrive's challenge on the 2012 Dakar Rally in South America. In South Africa, to test the Toyotas were highly experienced Orlando Terranova and Portuguese driver Felipe Palmeiro.
We have 2 drivers out here, one tested yesterday, and Lucio Alvarez, and then he is from San Rafael in Mendoza. Started racing with us this year, very competent driver, and I think for the Dakar it would be good to see him in the top 10. Orly Terranova, he's a bit more well known, he's won the Tunisia Rally in the World Cup and also won stages on the Dakar, and also he's a up-and-coming driver, and last year he raced in the BMW and the year before in the Mitsubishi Lancer. And so they're out to test the car and see the capabilities, and hopefully we see them in the car in Dakar.
With 12 Dakar Rally appearances under his belt and a class win in 2002, former Peugeot development mechanic Orlando Terranova is no stranger to the rigors of the world's toughest race.
Okay, we are here in South Africa, a nice and beautiful country, testing the new Hilux, the new Toyota. We want to know the potential of the car for the next Dakar, and okay, we are really happy because the car is very nice. It's quite better than the Nissan there. Also the car, the engine, the suspension, and I think that can be a very good platform for beat Dakar and the other teams.
Holdspeed-built Nissan hardbody and Navara vehicles dominated the South African Championship for nearly a decade and have performed with distinction on the Dakar.
Well, they've performed well. I think we have to also accept that Nissan is getting a bit old, but has performed well. Overdrive, we won three Baja World Cups with the vehicles. Obviously guys like Colin McRae have beaten the likes of Carlos Sainz and even Janelle de Villiers in the VWs or in the BMWs.
South Africa's greatest Dakar Rally moment came when Janelle de Villiers won the 2010 event. With the ABSA Off-Road Championship acknowledged as the most competitive in the world, Abraham is hoping Overdrive, with a little South African know-how, will do well in the 2012 race.
In terms of competition, in terms of entries, I think worldwide, even if we consider the Baja World Cup events, yes, they get 130 entries, but that's from the complete European market and even international market. And for sure, as a domestic championship, it has to be the world's strongest championship. The level of the vehicles is very high, the technology used. Yes, there are certain areas which we change when we go to Europe, especially in the brake areas, which are dictated by the regulations, and it's also a cost factor for South Africa. And the performance is definitely there, and I think the championship, when you have 22 or 24 cars in the same category, and you see races where they finish a race within a minute, or in the same minute 3 or 4 cars in the prologues, I think competition is always good, and that in turn brings the performance and everything else. And I think that's what we like about South Africa, and that's what I still love about South Africa.
Off-road racing at grassroots level is the lifeblood of the sport in South Africa, and in recent seasons, the SA Off-Road Car Racing Association has put in place initiatives designed to safeguard the future and guarantee the growth of the sport. These initiatives have centered around promoting off-road racing at grassroots level and attracting new faces into the sport. A gratifying development has also been the successful progression into the national ranks of crews like Johan van Staden and James Rousseau and Marius and Jolinda Fourie. The move by the Fouries into the national ranks also had a spin-off for Northern Region stalwarts Greg Higgins and Mick Oosthuizen. Another move in recent seasons by the SA Off-Road Racing Association to bolster grassroots competition has seen selected Northern Regions and KwaZulu-Natal Championship races run in conjunction with ABSA Off-Road Championship events.
getting the guys, including us in a lot of his events, and now with us getting TV exposure, I think it's going to help also for us to get sponsors.
Back to the Diamond Route 200 in Wolmaranstad, and at the start of the second and final loop of the race, overall leaders and special vehicle frontrunners Jaco and Jan van Aert were stamping their authority on proceedings. They were around 8 minutes clear of the next car and well on the way to increasing their lead in the Special Vehicle Championship. The first of the production vehicle runners were Jaco du Plessis and Louis Bester, who were also leading Class D by a clear margin. A steady run had also taken Greg Higgins and Mick Oosthuizen into second place in Class P, with the portable Shea WPP also running in third place overall. Mick Oosthuizen has been around the block once or twice and has seen it all as a driver and co-driver in regional and national championship racing. Oosthuizen has also made his mark as a technician for top teams and is one of off-road racing's true characters. Jason Venter and Vincent van Alleman are Oosthuizen's juniors by a fair margin, but the youngsters were continuing their off-road apprenticeship with another impressive performance that gave them a comfortable Class E victory. With Father Dion the reigning national Class D champion, it would appear young Venter is a chip off the old block. There was also a steady performance from Tinus Leroux and Gustav Pinard in the Sandmaster, with the Mafeking pair slowly working their way to the front of the Class B field. Leroux and Pinard had a lead of around 6.5 minutes over another veteran in Wolf-Peter Fumfai, who this year is also competing at national level in the WPP. Running behind Fumfai on the road were Chris and Annelien van Jaarsveld, with a Ford around 18 minutes behind class leaders Jason Venter and Vincent van Alleman. An encouraging run had also seen Vernon and Jaco Venter work their way into third place in Class P in another of the many Sandmasters to be found in the Northern Region Series. They were being followed by the WPP of John Boxhoorn, who had slowly worked his way into third place in Class B in a Wolf-Peter Fumfai built car. The highly modified Sandmaster of Dion Kruger and Gerry Verrooy was running a solid fourth in Class P and was being followed by Giel Nel and Johan de Klerk, who had gradually slipped down the Class B running order. Nel and de Klerk were being chased by Johan Steyn and Sean van der Berg, who had sorted out the problem that brought the Zaken to a halt earlier in the race. The Lichtenberg crew of Willy Wellman and Charlie van Wyk had a comfortable lead in Class F, with the Ford sounding healthy. Chasing after them were Frank Engelbrecht and Michi van der Linde in the only raceco in the event. Engelbrecht and van der Linde were running ahead of Johan Griffin and Keith Solomon, who were over an hour behind the Class E leaders in a Toyota Hilux. Behind them on the road, Theo and William Wagner were second in Class F in a Nissan, with the pair exactly 25 minutes behind the class leaders. A little deviation from the route cost the Wagners a few seconds, with the crew apparently not fazed in any way by the incident. Off-road racing is also about perseverance, and Andre van der Berg and William Dunhan were the last of the classified finishers, with fourth place in Class E. Up at the finish, Jaco and Jan van Aert were busy putting the final touches to an impressive overall and Class P victory. It was a win that consolidated their special vehicle category championship lead. The homemade Janko never missed a beat, and not far behind the Van Aerts were production vehicle winners Jaco du Plessis and Louis Bester in the Toyota Land Cruiser.
Baie lekker geweest, dat was baie tyd. Gedink het gaan vinnig wees, dit was maar baie plekke was dit maar. Dit was maar 'n bietjie beklei met 'n stuurwiel. 'n Bietjie modder gehad en goed gekry. Ek dink daar's 'n paar ouens wat dalk gaan vassit. Ons het so die laaste stukkie 'n bietjie gebattle om deur te kom. Maar het goed geloop. Navigation en die goede was lekker. Die ou baas was op sy plek vandag. Sal plan moet maak, ons is nie fiks genoeg nie, maar dit was lekker. Baie lekker.
The final result showed a good mix of special and production category vehicles, making it into the top 10. A star of the future also got into the act, but one of the spin-offs that regional championship events offers is an opportunity for national competitors to have a little fun or shake down machinery. 3 crews who have extensive national championship experience took the opportunity to use the Diamond Route 200 to go out and enjoy themselves, and in the case of Marius and Jolinda Fourie, to also do some testing before the next national race on the championship calendar.
Ag wat ons bly naby hierso, so as maar 'n bietjie besluit ons gaan 'n bietjie kom speel en die kar weer 'n bietjie toets en al daai dinge.
For brothers Gerard and Lawrence du Plessis, it was an opportunity to take an aging Porter out of mothballs and have some fun under race conditions.
Well, I like vinnig, maar hy het heel wat gerowwe terreine. So, ek weet nie, daar's stukkies wat vinnig is en ander is redelik rof en bietjie modder hier en daar, weet, maar ek dink die wind waai vandag. So ek dink die stof sal ook nie 'n probleem wees.
With a couple of national championship wins behind him, Gerard du Plessis is a highly experienced campaigner, while Marius and Jolinda Fourie have made a big impression in Class P since joining the ABSA Off-Road Championship ranks. Francois Conradi and Andrew van der Westhuizen also took the opportunity to have a run in the nicely turned out bat. Gerard du Plessis quickly showed that he has not lost the ability to drive a Class A off-road car in anger. Du Plessis showed impressive pace, with Francois Conradi and Andrew van der Westhuizen also showing that they are likely to be a handful for other Class B crews over the rest of the ABSA series. The Fouries already have a Class P win under their belts, and the pair will be looking to bounce back after a series of disappointing results in the ABSA Off-Road Championship. The next event on the ABSA Off-Road Championship calendar is the popular 4x4 Mega World 400 at Carnival City in Boksburg on September the 9th and 10th. The 4x4 Mega World 400 is round 6 of the National Championship and brings off-road racing into Gauteng's backyard. Take a trip to the East Rand and take in the drama of National Championship off-road racing. If you can't make it to Boksburg, you can also follow the action on the 4x4 Mega World 400 right here on Supersport, your world of champions.